Can ChatGPT program an Arduino? This is Dave in the shop. Stay tuned and find out. So a friend of mine asked me to make a video showing him how to make a digital thermometer using an Arduino. He has no coding experience whatsoever. So what we're going to do is we're going to use ChatGPT to write the code for this little project. To build this project, we're going to use an Arduino Uno. We're going to use a LCD panel, and it has the backpack board on the back. So this allows it to be a serial interface, which makes it very easy to interface into the Arduino. We'll also need a DALL-E Semiconductor based temperature probe. So this one's already made up with a cable on it, which makes it super easy, and they're very inexpensive to pick up. And of course we'll need a little bit of wiring. So we've got these wiring pieces with the ends already terminated, so that'll make it super easy. And then of course we need a power cable and a power module. This is a USB standard power module, 5 volts. So that's all it'll take to do this project. Let's get started. So our first step is going to be to launch ChatGPT. So we'll go into our browser, ChatGPT, and that brings us into ChatGPT. So now we've got down at the bottom of the screen the ability to enter in our prompt. The key thing with the prompt is you've got to be very descriptive. You've got to really tell it exactly what you want it to do, what parts you want it to use, as much information as you can. So a good paragraph, well written, will give you a good outcome. So in my prompt, I'm telling ChatGPT to write an Arduino program using an Arduino Uno and an LCD display and a DALL-E Semiconductor temperature probe. And I'm telling it to write the program so that it measures the temperature and displays it on the screen. I've also asked it to provide a wiring diagram and a written description of the program. And we can see ChatGPT going to work. There's the Arduino program. Telling us about the wiring. And now it's giving us an explanation about the program. And now it's generating a diagram. And then it's generated a very nice diagram showing all of the wiring. We're going to do this test with a already installed Arduino IDE, integrated development environment. There's lots of videos out on YouTube of how to install this IDE programming environment and how to configure it. So the assumption here is you've already got that set up. There's also some libraries that are used to extend the language, and this environment already has those libraries set up. Again, lots of videos out on YouTube of how to do that. And now the next step is I'm going to copy the code section out of the ChatGPT response, and I'm going to open up Notepad and just copy that into Notepad, save it as a file. That way we'll have that so we can reuse it, and then we'll use that to copy into the Arduino programming IDE screen. So what we'll do is we'll load the code that was generated by ChatGPT, and then we'll run the compiler and see if this code will compile. So we'll copy the code out of Notepad and then paste it into the Arduino IDE, and then we'll click the check mark to do a test compile. And it worked. The next step is going to be to get the code loaded into the Arduino. So my Arduino is plugged into the USB port and is powered on by the USB connection. I've also gone and set up the Arduino. So I've configured it so it knows that it has the Arduino, the right one selected, and it knows the COM port that it's talking to it. There is a little tool in the IDE that lets you interrogate the board to find out what version it is. That's a great test to make sure that you got a good active connection on it. So the next step is going to be, let's run the compiler and see if it will install the program into the board. So we'll click the arrow to start the compile and upload, and down in the status section we can see that it's compiling the sketch. The status bar shows that it's working. We've got progress. So we've had a successful compile. Now it's uploading the program to the board. And it's done uploading. All right, so we got a successful compile and install to the board. Now the next thing is going to be to hook up all of our parts and pieces so that we can test it, see if it actually does what we asked it to do. So in addition to the parts that we spoke about before, the program and the wiring diagram says that I need a 4.7K ohm resistor for this project. So I happen to have a nice box full of lots of resistors. There's 4.7K ohm. So we will get one of those resistors for this build. The other thing, make sure I put it back in the right spot. The other thing that we'll have to do is our temperature probe. It has bare wire ends, and those don't plug in well onto the Arduino. So we'll do a little bit of soldering, where we'll solder some little of these jumper pins, cut a couple of these wires and solder them on. That'll make it very easy to plug the probe into the board. We'll also use these jumpers for the screen to plug it in, and that will just make it very easy to connect. So we'll do a little bit of connecting work and get this assembled. Then we'll be ready to test out the code. I'm following the wiring instructions given to me by ChatGPT. That'll be part of the test to make sure that the instructions do in fact work. All right, we've got everything wired up. At least I believe it's wired up correctly. So put these things aside and let's plug in the Arduino. see what happens. All right, success. So we connected up our wiring, put in the resistor as it suggested, and there we go. We've got display on the screen reading the temperature, and if I were to put my hand on the probe, and we see the temperature going up. So it's updating once every second and doing what it was said to do. Key thing with this was that I had to make sure that my Arduino environment had all of the correct library files installed. And once that was all done, then I was able to compile the program as written by ChatGPT, and then was able to load that into the Arduino. Just a few thoughts about this whole project. I wanted to see, could ChatGPT actually program an Arduino? Well, the answer is that it was able to generate some code. Now, it's not able to hook up the Arduino. It's not able to do the wiring that's needed for the sensor and the display. But it was able to tell us what we needed to do from a wiring standpoint. The other thing about this is it wrote a program that does exactly what I told it to do. Now, if I want to do some customization to it, adjust the way the display looks, adjust the way the thing operates, maybe if I needed push buttons or other things on it, I still think there's value for someone to be able to, that knows how to program an Arduino, to go into the code and make tiny tweaks. Certainly, if the code didn't work or one of the parts or pieces didn't work, then there's debugging that I think still is going to take a human to do that. It's very interesting, though. The proposition is that I think this could save a lot of time. I can tell it what I want it to do as far as a base program. It gives me the code for that, and then I'm well on my way to customize and modify and create the final product that I want. One other thing to take note of, the thumbnail screen for the video with the robot and the Arduino, that was generated by ChatGPT as well. Now I'm using version 4.0, the latest version. It just came out, so it has the ability to send information over to the DALL-E AI service that can generate the graphics. But I thought it did a really cool graphic, and it was a simple prompt, about one sentence to get that, and then I pulled it in and added my overlays and put it on the video. So again, very cool stuff. Where this is all going to go, I don't know. But I am excited about the capability. I think the way that I'm looking at this right now is it's like a power tool. So if I use an analogy here in the shop, I've got a handsaw up here on the wall, and I could grab an 8-foot long 2x4 and rip it down into two pieces with that handsaw. It'd take me a good bit of time. But I also have my table saw. And with the table saw, I can rip a bunch of 2x4s in the amount of time that it takes to do one with a handsaw. Is it going to replace us anytime soon? No. It still takes a human to understand what we want to do and kind of set the parameters of what we want to do. And as you can see with this project, ChatGPT is not going to go solder my wires and plug them together. So this is Dave in the shop. playing with power tools. Remember, like and subscribe. That really helps the channel, helps it get it out there so that more people can see the content.